Well, from day one, Mr. President removed the subsidy, the fuel subsidy. That was a huge one for the economy. It had been a bit of a challenge, to put it mildly. He also stabilized the currency, the unification of the naira. We went into a robust fiscal review of the tax architecture for the country, which had been dated for a while. And then more recently, the Investment and Securities Act was signed into law. We had the NNPC reviews. The Finch rating went up. In summary, stabilizing of the economy so that private sector can plan. We also had some regulatory reviews, some legislative reviews, and a lot of traction in terms of market access, speaking to our investors for investment retention, and then going after strategic relationships, strategic investors to come into priority sectors like infrastructure, like agriculture, like digital trade, like solid minerals. And so these are some of the benefits that continue to trickle down in terms of job creation. So from the monetary policy, from the fiscal end, and then the pillar of trade and investment, investment attraction, investment retention, and just walking through our trade policy reviews, tidying up our G2G bilateral agreements, optimizing the AfCFTA, and really being very bullish about exports and expanding across the continent. These are some of the concrete steps that have been taken by this administration over the last 24 months.
It's very interesting that the first thing you mentioned was the removal of the fuel subsidy, because a lot of Nigerians will counter that and say, well, we're still reeling from the effects of the removal of this oil subsidy. The cost of living crisis is still very much with us. A lot of people would fail to see how that is an advantage.
Well, you know, it's like having surgery. Nobody wants to go under the knife, but when you've having pain for a long time and your doctors say, look, this thing, if you don't take it out, it's going to be terminal. The recovery is never an easy process, but a necessary one. And so that's what he had the courage to do. I think even the worst skeptics will admit that Mr. President has been able to stabilize this economy. He's been able to take the bold and difficult steps of problems that he did not create. And so Nigeria has passed an inflection point. Yes, there'll be a lag. And yes, we're with this. Now we're really focused on productivity, on competitiveness, the things that will enable the economy to scale. The recovery is, you know, the stabilization is there, and now we're going in recovery. International analysts have accepted this and have verified this, and so the best is certainly yet to come.
What's the vision going forward? You know, what's the long-term vision for this government, say, in the next 2 years, for instance? You know, where would you like to take this country in terms of trade and investment?
So certainly investment retention, making sure that the businesses that are doing business here.
That's actually a big problem for you, because, you know, some companies, some big pharmaceuticals, oil companies have actually pulled out of Nigeria in the last, say, 2.5 years.
Of problems not made by this administration. Some of them were legacy problems from COVID, global supply chain issues, and those that took the decision to leave have been able to sell. None of them sort of like closed down. They were all able to divest, or they became traders with an option to come back into the economy for manufacturing. So in as much as we see a change in the dynamics, even more businesses have been trying to get into the Nigerian market. And I think that is the more important signal.
And a lot of complaints around the ease of doing business in Nigeria. I mean, I know you were special advisor for ease of doing business under President Buhari for quite a few years. I mean, we're still lagging way behind, I think, number 130, 131.
Yeah, well, the report has been stopped like 4 years ago now. The World Bank discontinued that report. But just to say that this is difficult work. So it's work that also takes time, progressively improving the business climate. But I would say that I've been able to get some trust and credibility from private sector, which is why they keep coming back. There are different things that we've been able to solve in terms of regulatory, bureaucratic, and legislative issues. And I wouldn't, like, it's better you speak with private sector and they would tell you, is this in a free fall? No. There are issues even as recently as this week. Yesterday, I was with the central bank governor discussing the same issues of how we balance things for businesses as he's balancing monetary space. I'm speaking from consultations with private sector. everybody trying to balance and see how this economy, the economic management team led by the coordinating minister of the economy, the minister of finance, always on a regular basis looking at things 360 and speaking to the priority sectors. Agriculture, very important for this economy. Solid minerals, 44 commercial solid minerals. That trajectory for Nigeria, our non-oil exports, making sure that we're pushing areas like digital trade where young Nigerians are competitive and giving them outsourcing of jobs where they can work from home and earn a productive wage. So there are different areas. Infrastructure, Mr. President has really been bullish on infrastructure. These kinds of reforms, especially when they haven't been done in a long time, can be very painful, but very necessary. And I believe it's like having a renovation being done. It's never like comfortable, but at the end, I believe that Nigerians will definitely be happy with what this administration has delivered for them.
I've got two more questions. I'm going to broaden it out now to Africa and then internationally. You mentioned the AFCFTA. A lot of people say the takeoff is very slow. Trade amongst African countries, I think it's below 20% or something like that. The takeoff is very slow. Nigeria, Africa's largest economy. How are you leveraging on this Free Trade Act to try and boost business within Nigeria, West Africa, and the rest of the continent?
So I would say it's a fair comment. The takeoff had been slow for a number of reasons. It actually started, and I must commend the African Union, it started in the middle of COVID. And so that's the first thing. Now that agreement, around the world, skeptics never thought Africa could get its act together. We got our act together. Slow takeoff or not, it has taken off. Intra-African trade is currently at 18%, but this is an inflection point. This 5th year mark of trading across Africa. Now for Nigeria in particular needed coordination. And so I inaugurated a central coordinating committee that has all the people. So different people were working on different things, different groups. So you had the customs, you had the ministries, you had the agencies, NEPC, and now we have a coordination that is helping us to move quicker. You may have known that on Sunday, just Africa Day, May 25th, we had a flag off of an inaugural flight with Uganda Airways to the Eastern and Southern Corridor. Now, this is a flat rate negotiated by businesses with Ugandan Airlines to have a drastic reduction between 50 and 75% of the cost of freight of goods, including regulatory charges. So business is very excited. Any business as part of an organized private sector that was part of that negotiation, like Nasima, NASMI, their businesses are able to export with that flat rate. And so we can track and we can know exactly how intra-African trade is growing. Nigeria gazetted AFCFTA tariff schedule. Mr. President approved that in April. So that's done and dusted. And really, the businesses have been ahead of government all this while. Slow start or not, you know, some businesses have been on this journey even before AFCFTA. So now government enabling, helping with market access, speaking with G2G, other governments. And Uganda Air is just the first of many. I know that one of those private sector organizations is already speaking with another airline. So we released yesterday a market intelligence tool that tells Nigerian MSMEs where their goods are in demand in Eastern and Southern Africa. That's to enable them, give them the information. Last year, some of the businesses were in Namibia to trade. They sold out. Even the clothes they were wearing were kept there. That's Nigerian fashion, textile, cosmetics, food. That's our snacks, our processed value added, very highly in demand. We'll be hosting the AFCFTA, the AU MSME trade fair in Abuja next month. And that will also be a game changer in terms of rallying our MSMEs and letting them see the full potential of what trading across the continent can do for them. Ours is to help them with the information, to help them with the regulatory process. You know, we already have ports reforms ongoing, like a national single window project, and the customs service has a whole slew of advanced passenger rulings, different reforms to cater to compliant businesses. So a lot is happening in the trade facilitation and trans-African trade.
Okay, so let's move it further afield now. We know how the dynamics in world economy changed in January this year, when Donald Trump took over as or returned as president, hiking tariffs for countries all over the world. We've seen some countries in the West, mostly, and somewhere in Asia as well, try to renegotiate their own deals with the Americans. Is that something that the Nigerian government is doing? Are you talking to the Americans to say, I mean, we know AGOA is probably moribund as it stands, with all these tariffs, but are you talking to the American government in terms of tariffs?
We're always talking with the American government. They're a strategic partner of ours. On the 26th of March, even before President Trump's Liberation Day, the American ambassador was at our office. We were discussing our commercial and investment partnership, which we have a big event coming up next month. So we've been in constant touch, and we continue to discuss what's of mutual benefit with both our economies, our balance of trade, whether it's oil, whether it's digital trade, services. And so that's a relationship that ours is to respond. We're not a government that is reactive. We have a plan, we have a strategy, we have our trade partners, we have our traditional strategic partners, we have new relationships as well that we're building across the world, and we're staying on course.
Dr. Duwale, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Much appreciated.
Yeah.
Thank you.